Okay, I think that's going. So, I want to ask you, like, how were things different when you were growing up? Like when you were little, things you remember, stuff like that.
Things I remember.
And I'm going to turn this radio off for a second.
Sure. So, well, my first Christmas, I know what my dad would always go out and get the tree and always chopped it down and brought it in. But we never had lights on the tree. We had regular candles, lit candles. But we'd have to be careful with them, so the tree wouldn't catch on fire. So, and then we made our own ornaments. We'd get the walnuts and we'd paint them. My dad would put a little nail pound a little nail on the walnut, and then we'd paint them gold, silver, whatever, and then put a string around them, and that was our ornaments for Christmas.
Just walnuts?
Just walnuts, and found some other stuff, to put on it, but that's about it. Walnuts and like little berries, we'd get outside and put them on the string and stuff, and then we'd get colored paper and cut them out in strips and make these chains for our garlands for the tree. Would make paper stuff.
Now, how did you connect the paper? Like today, they glue it or they staple it or tape it. What did you do?
We could get glued there, because school, for kids going to school. Yeah, we'd glue them, and we'd make great big chains, big enough to go all the way around the tree and stuff. Mm-hmm. That was our garland for the trees, and that's about it for the tree. I had a star on top, and finally, we bought a star. We used whatever we could find to put on the tree, and icicles, the little icicles.
What were those?
Those real long. You can buy them. They're little icicles that you put. They're real thin.
Oh, like the tinsel?
Yeah,
stuff?
tinsel.
Yeah, okay.
We call them icicles.
Okay.
And then we'd always have our house inside decorated with garland, from wall to wall, and put garland, let them hang down. Sometimes when we'd be walking, we'd be hitting into them and stuff like that. So that's mostly about the decorations. It had candles in the windows.
Real candles?
Yeah, we had real candles on the tree too. So, and that's about it. Then at Christmas time, when we were ready for Santa Claus, we didn't have we didn't go shopping very much. Whatever we got, I was lucky I got a baby doll when I was little.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we'd get mostly clothes, and shoes and socks and stuff like that. And my brothers would get stuff like the boys would play with and stuff, so outside of that.
What do you remember getting or opening on Christmas morning? Or do you remember other gifts that maybe other people opened?
Well, yeah, I still have to laugh. To have containers, for each one of them. We used to get our pots and pans, whatever. My brothers would try to get the biggest one they had, find and put their names in there, whose they were, and then that's when we got oranges, apples, bananas, stuff like that, and then maybe like a sweater. And my brothers never had any big toys that I remember. Maybe a truck or something like that, but outside of that.
So you would wake up on Christmas morning?
Yeah.
And what was your house like? Were you in an upstairs bedroom or downstairs, or was it all one floor? What was it like?
The same house that we lived, where Tom and them lived.
Oh, okay.
See, that's where we were, Our tree was where living room is we put the tree in there, and then we'd get up in the morning and we'd all jump down and see what we got. And we were happy. We got oranges, apples, and socks and shoes and stuff like that. So that was our Christmas. We were lucky. I remember I got a dress one time, and then I finally got a little doll that I could play with. So I says, kids nowadays, they have too much, you know. So,
So were the presents all in those different pots and
Yeah,
pans?
yeah.
And how many brothers or sisters were there that you were
Well,
going there?
I don't think Sophie was born. She was the youngest. There was 6 of us. You know, all my brothers and my sister and I were about the only 2. And
How did it go oldest to youngest?
Peps was the oldest.
Okay.
And Frank, Ange, my sister, then Tony, then me, Charlie, and Sophie. But there was one before, but he died of whooping cough.
Oh,
Edward, his name was Edward, and he was born before, I think between Peps and Frank. So he had a whooping cough and he died. So
as a baby?
Huh?
As a little baby?
Yeah, he was little, about nine months old or something like that. You know.
So were you born when that happened, or was that before you?
That was before me.
But-
They just told me that, you know,
They told you about it.
yeah.
What do you remember about your mom and your dad?
Oh. Well, they were just normal people, just like anybody else, you know, so they worked hard. We had cows and we had pigs and chickens and stuff like that. And we used to milk the cows, and I was the milk lady. I had to deliver the milk to the people that wanted milk.
How did you do that?
Well, put them in, you know, regular quart bottles, and we'd have to carry them to people that we used to go. I had to deliver them up to Patton. It was called Patton, but it was a little next little town, not town. It was just a little country there. Walked over to, you know, where they have the pig roast now. There was a real big pathway. We had to walk over to the next town. It was about 10 minutes away.
Okay.
So we had to walk to carry eggs and milk and stuff like that.
Who walked with you?
I walked myself, you know, when I had to, but then I'd have my brother go with me or somebody else, you know, that was around there.
Well, how did you carry the stuff? Did you have a bike, or you just walked?
Just
or?
walked. I didn't have no bike. I never had a bike.
Never?
Never had a bike. That's why I says we was lucky we got oranges and apples. So, yeah.
So you would walk. What were you carrying? Were you carrying like a case to hold the milk in, or
Yeah,
a
we had
basket
little
for the eggs?
carriers. We had little carriers.
Okay.
So, yeah, eggs, and it was only like two people that wanted milk, you know, and we would bottle them and milk the cow and bottle them and take them. They were pure. It was pure milk, you know.
So what did you do? Did you milk the cow right into like a tin bucket or something?
Yeah, we had a regular bucket.
And then you just poured the bucket into a glass?
Into a quart bottle. You know,
quart bottle?
Regular milk, a milk bottle.
And what kind of cap did you put on it? Was it
They had screw-on caps.
a screw-on cap?
Yeah.
And you would take a couple of those?
Yeah.
And how many eggs? Like
A couple dozen. You know, people, whatever they need, you know what they'd order.
And would they order it in advance, or did you just go over with what you had?
No, they'd say what, you know, so we'd know what, you know, how much to give them, so, yeah.
And what did it cost?
I don't remember what they paid, so,
For milk or for
yeah.
not much? Did they just give you the cash right then?
Mm-hmm.
And you took it, what did you do then? Did you just give it to your dad or?
Well, yeah, my dad and mother, you know, so. Yeah, those days were hard days. But got everything cheap. I could buy a pair of shoes for 50 cents, a dollar. You know, clothes were cheap at that time. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we used to have peddlers come around.
What's that mean?
They were called peddlers.
Okay.
Of, you know, they come house to house with with different like dresses, shoes, and stuff like that. And you could buy whatever you wanted, you know. So we call them peddlers.
And they would just show up?
Yeah, they'd know, you know, what people would want, you know, because that little place that, you know, just those few little houses up there, they'd go from house to house.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't have to go to the grocery store. They'd send somebody from the store and they'd come take your order, go back and fill it up and bring whatever you want to the house.
Wasn't that expensive to pay someone to go grocery shopping for you?
No, not that time of the year. So, yeah, we didn't have to go. Well, my dad didn't have a car. My brother Frank had a car. He was lucky he had a car that he could go, you know, do stuff. We were in walking distance. We used to go to, if we wanted something, we just had to go to the store and just get, because the store wasn't too far away, we used to go down. But the one store that we liked, it was like next town. So they'd come and take your order and fill it out and then bring the stuff up.
Was it a bigger store in the other town? Is that how they did
Yeah,
it?
it was a big store, regular big grocery store.
Now, did they come like once a week, or how did you know
Yeah,
when they were?
once a week, and then if because we had like meat, like we had the pork, we had the beef, you know, from the cow, and we made our own sausage and stuff like that. Our own hams. We used to smoke the hams and stuff.
So you had a smokehouse in the backyard or something?
Yeah, my dad made a smokehouse.
He just made it?
Yeah, we had a bake oven too where we baked our bread. My dad made a special oven for the bread.
He made an oven?
Yeah,
Out of what?
brick. It was like made it round
Was it outside?
outside. And then when we was making bread, we always made our own bread and stuff, you know, and we'd make the loaves, and we'd get these great big trays that you could put so much on it. And when the oven was hot enough, we'd carry it out and put the whole thing in the oven. And my dad would be up there, he'd watch it, and so when the bread was done, he'd bring it into the house.
Even in the wintertime?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
That's what I says. People nowadays, they don't, you know what it is to have. We really worked hard.
So what was a normal day for you?
Normal day. A Sunday.
Any day, yeah.
My brother Frank used to get mad. We used to do our own butchering, you know. And Frank he was dating at that time, and my dad would butcher right on Saturday. Every Saturday, when he'd want to kill a pig or something, he'd pick Saturday. My brother Frank always was going out on Saturday. And then my brother Frank was the one that did all the cutting. You know, he was like the butcher. And he'd cut up all the meat and get everything ready to make sausage and stuff like that. So, and he always has to pick Saturday. So,
What would Frank do on Saturdays when he went out?
well, he'd go out. They used to have dances almost every Saturday night in Slickville.
Where were the dances?
Up, it was up in a little. It's up towards where you went to church. You know,
Mm-hmm. On the corner?
The first building on the left when you come up from our place, and it was called. It was upstairs. That's where my wedding was, upstairs. it was Finelli's hall. You know, they used to have dances. They had the bars down at the bottom and the dance hall on top. So that's where he'd go. Where since he was driving, he could go out of town and go to the movie. We had a little movie house too. We had where we could go.
In Slickville?
Yeah, in Slickville we used to have a little place. They made it into where they showed film and stuff, regular movies.
Mm-hmm.
So we used to go there.
What movies do you remember coming through town?
I don't remember any of them.
So he used to go to dances and stuff? When they had dances, what kind of music did they play?
They had regular orchestra coming in. Yeah. It was mostly polkas and stuff like that, you know, so some other music too, so it was a mixture of everything. So,
Did it cost money to go to the dance?
no.
You could just go?
Just go.
Someone else paid the musicians or
Yeah.
something? And you just walked everywhere you wanted to go,
Yeah, I did.
unless Frank wanted to drive you somewhere.
Yeah. Well, Frank used to take a bunch of. He used to take Tony and some of Tony's friends and his friends. He used to go out of town, you know, like Crabtree, wherever there was dances or something going on, they'd go. So,
Now, when you had all these cows and chickens and pigs and things like that, was there a big barn or something that they all lived in, or?
yeah, it was all back up to where you know where all that hill is.
Yeah, was it before that or up on the hill?
We had buildings. We had like a big barn where my dad could have, and then the chicken coop. We had these outhouses, you know, they were real long. They had like a place where you could have your coal and your wood. Then we had a toilet, and then a chicken coop, and that's where where they have the pig roast now. All that whole section up there was buildings because there was another house next door. So we had them like divided off. Yeah, the right side was for the neighbor, and the left side was for you. So, and then we would share. We'd have my dad would get. Well, my dad was a coal miner, and Frank worked out down at the tipple. You know, they called it a tipple where they sorted the bad coal from the good coal. He used to do that. You know, they used to call it slate. If it was slate, they'd throw it away. And regular coal. So we had our own coal and stuff, which we didn't have to pay for, you know. So, then to go up and get all that stuff to make a fire in a house, we had coal stoves. We didn't have no electric stoves.
It was a coal stove?
Coal stove. We had where we cooked everything on. It was a big stove where we had the oven and oven and the burners on top. And we didn't have no electric irons. We had regular irons where you put them on top of the stove to get hot.
And what did you iron the clothes on? Was there an ironing board?
We had an ironing board. At least we had that, you know. We could.
Mm-hmm.
But we had to watch. Sometimes the iron got too hot, you'd burn clothes.
Oh, yeah.
So you had to watch how hot the iron was. So we couldn't check the temperature on it or, you know, the heat on it. So
No, so the outhouse was outside.
yeah.
And how far was it from the house?
Well, this is where the house is at now. You know, where we had to walk all the way up to where they had the pig roast.
So back there. In the wintertime when it was cold, and you just still had to go to the bathroom outside.
Yep.
No matter what.
No matter
and
what.
It wasn't heated.
No.
It was just like a wooden.
Yeah, it was just a wood. It was about this wide, enough for a toilet. That's about it.
And then what happened when it was full?
guys there was a company there that used to go out and clean toilets. We called them honey dippers.
Honey dippers?
Honey dippers.
Oh, man.
And they'd come like late at night or early morning before people would get up, that have your toilets all cleaned up and everything. But whenever you got up, you could tell they were there because the odor was terrible.
Oh, really?
Even if it was outside, you could, it was terrible.
So what did people use for toilet paper and stuff then? Just
Sears Roebuck catalog.
a catalog? Oh, man.
Yeah, paper, regular paper, newspaper.
Was there running water in the house?
Oh yeah, we had running water.
But no electricity? Or was there
We
electricity?
had electricity in the house, yeah, but no, nothing outside, Electricity in the house, and water was in the house. The only thing we had to carry was water for doing clothes, because they had that rust in the water. It wasn't purified water, it was just us. So we had to boil everything. So it was rough.
So how did you, if you say there was water in the house, was it like in a sink? Or if there wasn't a toilet, was there like a kitchen sink that had running water? Or was there...
Well, we didn't have any toilets in the house. It was just a sink that you could use for regular cooking.
But it was brown water? It was...
No, it wasn't brown. You could tell after once you left the set, it would get so. You had to boil it, So that's why we used to carry. We used to have tracks from the coal mine. Used to have tracks, and down by the road there was a spring water, so we could go there and get the water for washing clothes. We had to carry our own water. I had 2 buckets filled up and carry them. Get enough water to do your laundry the next day. And there was like 1, 2, 3. There was 1, 2, about 5 families just up around where we used to carry.
And the spring water was...
It was the spring water.
And it was just naturally flowing spring water?
Yeah.
That happened to be by the tracks?
See, the tracks were built up, and the water was right down in there, so...
So you would just grab it in your buckets and take it back?
Yeah.
And how would you wash clothes? How would you do your laundry?
Washboard.
How do you do that? Well, it's just a wooden board?
It was wooden, but they had like little...
They had ridges on it?
Ridges on it that you could wash.
And did you have, what kind of soap did you use to...
Well, we could get Oxydol and stuff like that, We could get regular soap from the store, the grocery store.
So you just poured soap in the water and then splashed the clothes around on it against the board?
We had to rub it, and then we used to... we didn't have washers, washers to wash clothes. We used to... I remember my dad, we got something that was, you could fold it up. It was like two tables on each side. And you put a tub of clear water in a tub that you were doing your clothes in. Then we'd have to wring all those clothes out by hand. We didn't have no. Then later on they came out with that you could get the whole set with the wringer on and then put your clothes into the wringer and wind it through.
Did that help?
Oh yeah, that helped. You didn't have to, squeeze it.
And that got the loose water out of it?
Oh yeah.
And then you just hang up the clothes to dry?
We had to hang them up outside in the wintertime. They'd freeze. And we'd bring them in the house, and we'd put clothesline downstairs in the basement and hang them in there afterwards. We had a stove down there, cold stove, that like a heater. They called it a heating stove. And it was warm down there, so that finished drying. We used to bring them in. They were so stiff. Then just hang them up.
They would stand up by themselves?
They could stand up by themselves.
And how many people's laundry did you have to do?
Well, I had 32 shirts to iron one time with all my brothers and my brothers, and my mother had boarders. You know, a couple mine. They were coal miners. They stayed, and they slept upstairs. We had 2 boarders, and I washed all their clothes too. So my sister and I and Angie and I used to do that. And then we used to boil the clothes too. We had great big boilers. We put on top of the stove with water in and put soap in. And after we washed them, we put them in, like the white clothes, we put them in the boilers for them to boil, to like sterilize them.
So you boiled the clothes?
Yeah.
And then did you wash them after they were boiled, or was that enough?
Some of them we had to wash, and then the rest of them were, that we put them in cold water and rinse them, you know, so.
How long would it take you to do that?
Oh, not very long. Well, almost the whole day, you know.
All day to do all that laundry?
Yeah. And we did our own, you know, my brothers were particular.
All of your brothers were?
Yeah, especially Joe and Frank.
Joe and Frank?
Yeah. Tony wasn't too bad, but I figured I have to do perfect for them. I might as well do it for him too. So, yeah.
What were they picky about? Just the way the shirt was ironed or something?
Yeah. If there was a wrinkle, I had to do it over again. Especially the collars. The collars them days, they didn't have the stiff collars like they have now. That you don't have to iron them. We had to. I used starch. We make our own starch from, like, cornstarch. We used to mix it up with water, and then we used to dip the collar and the cuffs in that to make them stiffer. Then we had to dampen them and roll them up, so we didn't have no steam irons. We had to sprinkle them with water and roll them up and let them sit for a while, and then had to take them off out of there and then iron them on the ironing board.
With the starch still on there, so they were stiff, then you would iron right there?
Yeah.
And did you hang them up? Do you have wooden hangers or something, or?
Yeah, we had hung them up. Yeah, my brother Frank was the one that was particular.
Now, what did he do for a living?
He was he's the one that worked down in the picking out slate from the coal and stuff.
Okay, but he didn't wear those nice shirts to work.
No, this was just for when he's dressing up or to go to church, you know. So they had their like jeans and stuff to work, long sleeve shirts. Peps was a coal miner, and then he got hurt in the coal mine.
What happened?
Had a big chunk of slate fell down and got him in the back. Had a broken back. He was laid up for a good while. So then he had a bone sticking out in the back about that wide from that, you know, broken. So he couldn't work anywhere. So he got like a little pension, and they told him he could go to college. So he went to college and took pharmacist up. So he was the pharmacist after that. So he had his own drugstore for a couple of years in Pennsylvania. So yeah, he could never work back there. So yeah, he was big piece of slate fell down, and he got it. So Frank was working outside. He was an outside guy. Yeah, my dad worked in the coal mines for 30-some years. So, them days, stuff was cheap, you know, you could get, the groceries weren't that much. Well, most of the people them days, they could, you know, raise chickens and stuff like that, have their own, and make their own garden.
You have a garden?
Oh, big garden on both sides, there and there.
What was in it?
My dad used to do that all. He used to turn the ground over all by himself. My brothers would would help him, but my dad he had one pace. He did work fast, one pace, and he'd take his good old time. And he wanted everything perfect. So I says, we had our own garden, and it was a big garden. We used our own. We used to can our own tomatoes and beans, and canning. We couldn't freeze any because we had ice box, but you couldn't freeze the meat. You know, the ice in the ice box wouldn't last very long. So we used to get our own ice too, big chunks of. They come in about this big chunks and about that wide.
And how did that work?
That worked. You put it in the ice box, and you know, we had ice boxes where we could put our food in to keep it cold. Couldn't freeze the meat. You had to use it up right away. You know, it lasted a couple of days, but then so that's why my dad used to smoke all his meat, like the ham and stuff. And, yeah.
And how old were you when a lot of these things you're talking about, like the laundry and doing the milk and stuff? How old were you?
Oh, I'd say, well, anywhere from 10 years up. We used when we were little, from 10 on, we had to do stuff around the house. In fact, when I was going to school, the school was right about 10 steps away from the house. And we had like the space on the right side as you come up the hill, all that space over there was all school. We had 3 buildings from 1st to 8th. And then a couple classes were together, like 4th and 5th would be together. 2nd and 3rd, you know, first grade. So I used to come home for lunch, or even before going to school in the morning, we had to do all the stuff before. When the first bell rang, we were allowed to go, because you could hear the bell. We weren't allowed to go to school till the first bell rang.
What did you have to do in the morning before the bell?
Like make beds and stuff, you know. Make beds and stuff in the house, do the dishes before you go, so. And come home for lunch. If there was anything to be done, we did it before we went back after lunch. So.
And then when you came home after school, what would you do?
Well, we did our homework and, well, little chores around the house. Wasn't too much, so we had some leisure time.
What did you do with your leisure time? I mean, you didn't have a TV.
Listen to the radio. We had the big cabinet, and I remember. I can picture myself on the floor. I was listening to the soap operas, like, you know, so, and you had to imagine, you know, what they look like and what they're doing and that. So we used to lay down on the floor and lean up our ears up against the speaker so we could hear what they were saying.
Was it hard to hear? Was it hard to hear the?
Yeah. So didn't have no TV till way late. So. Yeah.
How about reading and books and stuff? Was there a town library, or was there a school library, or did people
There's
not?
a school library. You could get books there. Yeah.
Did people read a lot, or was that not something that you had a lot of time for?
Well, I didn't do too much reading because my mother always kept us. And there's always, when there was a garden, you always had stuff like weeding and stuff. You have to go out and weed. And we had big gardens. Then we had canning to do, a lot of canning.
What did you do for canning?
The tomatoes and made canned tomatoes you get just like you do in the store now, and then we used to make our own spaghetti sauce and canned our own beans, whatever, and grew our own potatoes and corn. my dad had a place for the corn, place for the potatoes, and
So how much of the food that your family would eat was stuff that you grew and raised yourself, and how much was stuff you had to buy?
well, the only thing we used to have to buy would be like, well, we made our own bread, and sometimes we made our own butter, you know, and wasn't too much. Some certain kind of meat we had, you know, they wanted, like we always had the pork, and we had to buy beef because that's the only, and chickens we had enough, and we used to make our own sausage. I used to have to cut up the meat for the sausage, and my dad would take like the fat off. Made our own bacon. Made our own grease. You know, it was lard, called lard. We made our lard from the pig, the fat from the pig.
How often would you have to buy? He have to buy new animals? Because if you're killing all the animals to eat them,
Yeah.
how often do you have to
Well,
get new ones?
Would kill like, my dad wouldn't like have only like 2 pigs, you know, 2 pigs or 3, and we'd do it like in toward the winter when it would be cool, and let's have buy the pigs like every other year or something like that, you know. So, and a cow, we only had the 1 cow. My brother Charlie, and well, there's a couple other families had cows, and they used to take them out to the pasture. It was, and then the one time, the cows, the boys were monkeying around, and they weren't paying attention where the cows were, and the cows went into a farmer's corn and started eating the corn, and the farmer got after him. My brother, they were swimming. They had they found a place where they could go swimming. They'd go swimming, and didn't pay attention to where the cows were, and they got into the farmer's land, and was eating the corn and doing a lot of damage. And the farmer got after him, and he left the cows. He locked them up, and the guy told the boys, he says, "You better tell your dad, you know, about the cow." So my brother Frank really got it from my dad. He scolded them, you know, told me, he says, they were skinny dipping, and when they were running out. When the farmer saw them, they took off, you know, and they left all their clothes over there and everything. It was terrible. My brother Frank used to get into a lot of trouble.
Did he?
Yeah.
What else did he do?
Well, he got into a gang of guys that weren't so good. They were mischievous, and he one night they went and they stole candy from a truck, you know, dealer, and my brother Frank was in jail for, I don't know, a week or so.
For stealing candy off a truck?
He was caught, yeah, with the other guys. So
What did your dad do when he found out?
he wasn't allowed to go anywhere for a while. So, you know.
What was school like? What do you remember about school?
Well, I was fifth grade, 6th grade. Well, I only had one teacher for the one class. I remember his name, Mr. Culp was his name.
What was his name?
Mr. Culp, C-U-L-P.
Mr. Culp was your teacher?
Yeah.
Okay. What did he teach?
Well, then I for every different, like English and arithmetic, we had different teachers, you know. So he had the one I had. I think it was 8th grade. He was a teacher that liked the kids to have fun and stuff. We used to have sled riding parties. We used to go in the summer to Idlewild Park, the whole school, or Kennywood. Kennywood Park was the one close to Pittsburgh. And we used to go one whole day. The whole school used to go on the buses and that to go to the amusement park. Oakwood Park was the one that was in Jeanette. And sled riding parties we used to have up by the school because we had nice hills to go all the way down into the woods. Sled riding parties and have hot chocolate and stuff like that. It was nice. I had history, geography, English, arithmetic, writing.
Now, what was it like when you went to school? Was it like now everyone's got like notebooks or smart boards or all these different things in school?
We had blackboards.
You had a blackboard?
We had blackboards and erasers, and we had books. We had our own arithmetic, writing, penmanship. We used to have writing classes. And I remember having a teacher. She was a teacher for writing, and penmanship it was called. And if you didn't hold the pencil right, she'd come around with the ruler, smack your fingers. You had to hold the pencil a certain way and move your arms a certain way to make sure that you're in lines and stuff. So, see, nowadays they don't have writing, for kids to learn how to write. When I went to school, we had regular writing classes. So.
And were you just writing on, did everybody have a paper notebook and they would check
we
your...
had notebooks and stuff that you had for school, same like they have here now.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did they have inkwells for ink, or was it regular ballpoint pens by then?
Inkwells.
Now, how did that work?
It wasn't too bad.
You just dipped the tip of your pen in you had to bring your own ink?
Yeah, well, they had ink there, but at home, I had ink at home, so. And I bought myself a pen where we could, use a regular pen. So, it was nice, had fun. Had recess time. The only thing is, I didn't leave the house till the first bell rang. When the first bell rang, I was out.
Mm-hmm.
10 steps, I was there.
How many people were in your class?
About 20 to 30. They were big classes.
That sounds big, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All in one grade, or was that a couple grades combined?
We had a couple grades combined.
And that's the 20 or 30,
yeah.
a couple grades combined?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because we had one big building, then 2 small buildings.
And then, so you went there through school, and then how many grades did that go up to, did you say?
8th grade.
8th grade. And when you got out of 8th grade, then what happened?
I didn't go to high school. I didn't go, so.
What'd you do?
I didn't go to high school. The other kids did, like Charlie and them, they went. But I didn't go. I stayed home to help my mother to do stuff around the house. And then when I got old enough, I got a job. So
What was your job?
I was, my first job was, my first job was working in a glass factory.
Glass factory?
Jeanette, yeah.
What did you have to do in the glass factory?
At that time, we was making jars and lids for canning stuff, and work right around the ovens.
You had to work by the ovens? Was that uncomfortable?
Yeah, Well, we worked 6 hours a day. 3 hours you worked. You got every hour you got 10 minutes off. You worked 3 hours. 6 hour days. You worked three out of the 6. That's how it was hot, you know. So the girls that were there before me, when I started, they says, we'll give you 1 or 2 months and you're going to quit. I was there 5 years.
What did you have to do in the oven? How did it work? How did you make the glass?
Well, they had the guys working all the machines to drop down the glass, and when the glasses came out, you had to wear gloves. Had to have your hair tied up, no hair showing, and long sleeve shirts, and then you'd. Like me, I was working on the lids, you know, for jar lids when they had those glass lids, and then they had kept. And
The lids were glass?
yeah, but it was just like a flat disc, you know, just like this, like a round disc, and then they had these metal lids. You can get jars now like that too, that have two pieces. And what they have now.
Like a candle cap? Like a cap you would put on a candle?
Yeah.
Like those glass ones?
Mm-hmm. So I had the job of raking them down into the trays and then taking them into the oven. I had the big long baskets like this, and you fill it up with, that's for them to bake, to go through the oven to bake. And then whoever was on the other side had to take them off and get them ready, packed up, you know. It was hot, especially in the summertime. Winter wasn't too bad. We had the buses come to pick you up, and, you know, to go to work. We had buses.
Oh, was it far away, the factory?
Yeah, Jeanette, Pennsylvania.
How far was that from your house?
Well, that would be a good 15, 20 minutes, if not more.
On the bus ride?
Yeah.
And then, was it early in the morning, or was it just regular daytime hours?
It was just regular daytime. So that was.
So you worked in that job for a while.
Yeah.
And what did you do with the money that you made, however much they paid you?
I was lucky I was getting $1 an hour then. It was, it just gave me something to do, you know, so. Then we moved to, and after I got married, we moved to, well, when I lived in Slickville, I didn't do any work, you know. It was just after I got old enough to get a job. So they used to come knocking at the door for people to come to work.
Really?
Yeah.
Like who would do that?
The guys that owned the company, or, you know, that worked there, to go around see how many workers because they were people them days, they couldn't find, you know, couldn't get anybody to go to work.
I wonder why it was so hard to find people to go to work.
Well, I guess it was the pay and stuff like that, you know, so.
So then, what was it like during the war?
It wasn't, well, Brother Frank was in the service, Charlie was in the service. Tony went, but he came back, he had a ear punctured ear, so they wouldn't keep him. So he found himself a job, so I knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But Charlie was in the air. Frank was Pepsi's. The pharmacist, he didn't go to the war, so he finished his college education and opened up the drugstore. He was a pharmacist still. Till when he got sick. So.
And how did you meet Grandpa?
Well, Grandpa was working. Well, he lived in Jeanette, and the girls. Then Then when I was working at the glass factory, then I found a room where I could stay in there, you know,
In town?
in town. So it was walking distance. And met him, 2 other people and 2 other girls. We went out together, and he was a bartender.
He was a bartender when you met him?
Yeah.
Wonder what bar was that?
That was Biltmore Bar. It was the Biltmore Bar, yeah.
A Biltmore bar
Mm.
in Pennsylvania, in Jeanette?
Jeanette, yeah. And then we used to go out dances, you know, different dances, movies and stuff. That's how I met him.
Was he a good bartender?
Oh yeah, I guess he was. I didn't drink though, you know, but the girls, I went with the girls, and the girls drank. Go to movies and dances, did other stuff.
Did he ask permission to marry you? Did he have to ask your dad?
Oh yeah,
Was he nervous?
yeah, he was nervous. Then got married at St. Sylvester's Church.
He what?
Got married at the church that they have now.
Yeah.
Not the other church was an old church that we got married. They built another one after that.
Oh, okay.
It was a little white church where I had to go up the steps, and the one they have now is down further from where the other one was.
Well, it's so different.
Oh yeah.
You know, everything.
I says now, kids don't know what they have, you know. What they have, you know, they have everything's like handed to them.
Mm-hmm.
They-
So I mean, you went from, you know, seeing things that just hanging around the house and walking to wherever you had to go,
Yeah.
and just working all the time,
Yeah.
every day. Did you guys go on any family vacations?
No,
Never?
didn't know what a vacation was.
Hmm. How old did your dad and your mom live? I mean, how long did your mom and your dad live?
Well, my mom died the day the war was over. Frank was, it was the war, 1940 something.
In the 40s she died?
Yeah.
And how did she die? Just old?
Yeah, well, see, when I got the job first, I had to quit my job so I could take care of her.
Oh,
at
okay.
home. So,
Was she sick?
yeah, she was sick. She was bedridden, and we wanted to put her in the hospital. The doctor said it was during the war. We wanted to put her in the hospital. The doctor says she'll get better care here at home than she would in the hospital because of during the war, you know.
Oh, okay.
So I had to quit my job and take care of her. So she died in August. August was a bad month for in August. She died in August. She's like 50-some years old. She was young.
What was wrong? What sickness did she have?
Well, I think she was in a coma. So I asked the doctor, and he wouldn't tell me. But after she was gone, and then now I said she must have had cancer.
Mm.
And them days, they didn't know too much about medicine. So she was in a coma for But Charlie was in the service then too, so and Frank was, and
Did they get to see her before she died, or they came home after she had already passed away?
my brother Charlie came after. He came a couple months after, and he says we notified the Red Cross. We told the Red Cross, and they wouldn't do anything about it. So my brother Frank was so mad, and he says, Red Cross is supposed to help you and send, when people, something like this happens, they should give you a leave, they give you a leave. But Charlie couldn't come home. He came home a couple months after that, a couple months after he came home. And Charlie says he wouldn't give the Red Cross a penny because he said they tried and tried to get him home, and they just refused. They wouldn't give him time to come home.
So the Red Cross determined when soldiers could come home and when they had to stay? It wasn't the Army, it was the Red Cross?
It was the Red Cross.
Huh.
So,
And what about your dad? How long was your dad still alive after that?
oh, my dad died when he was 80-some years old.
Oh, he lived a long life.
He did, yeah.
And was he a coal miner?
He was a coal miner.
Until, how long did he do that?
Well, he did a good while. He wasn't.
I mean, did he have a long retirement?
Yeah. And the house, he didn't have to pay for the house. It was a company house. The company paid for,
Mm-hmm.
company he worked for. And all those homes were like people that worked for the coal company had homes up there, so they didn't have to pay.
So the coal company owned the house, and then they rented it to the workers, or
Yeah.
they sold it or rented it to the workers.
Yeah,
They sold it,
yeah.
so the family owned the house then.
Yeah, we didn't have to. My dad didn't have to put a penny in it. Just to repair, to repair it. So. Oh yeah.
Well, what do you think the biggest change is that you've noticed? In the world.
All the handy stuff that they have, all the upgrades,
Mm-hmm.
all the